Welcome to the third episode of the Sprocketnoggins podcast. Week 2 is now behind us and we head into week 3. On today's episode, our design archetype, some prototypes we're going with for end effectors, and an introduction to a secret society known as the Shop Rats. And introducing your hosts, Alan and Eli.
Cowabunga! Welcome, we're back at it again with another Sprocketnoggins video. I'm your host, Alan, and my co-pilot here,
Eli. You're very excited today, Alan.
My ears hurt.
Well, we just got done with finals, and oh man, did that drain me.
I want to.
We are also joined by reoccurring guest star, Gavin.
Cowabunga.
And on his first appearance on the Sprocketnoggins podcast, Gus.
Hi.
What's up, Sussy Gussie?
What's goody gang?
All right.
Okay, so we've made some progress on deciding on our design archetype.
So earlier this week we decided that we had to make a decision, and at that point there was about 3 architectures that we were seriously considering. So the first one was an elevator design. We didn't really know the end effector for any of the 3 designs, but the general idea was to have some kind of end effector that went through the center of the elevator, so we didn't have to flip when intaking from the coral station and scoring on the reef. And then we had a 3 degree of freedom arm that would have like a pivoting wrist and 2 joints. And then we had a telescoping like pink arm style thing that would fully extend up and then drop it from the bottom of whatever end effector was. And those were the 3 designs. So we ended up settling on the telescoping arm. It was a pretty unanimous decision after some deliberation. So we immediately started thinking about how we're going to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Call us 359 because we're building a Jack-in-the-Bot.
What?
True. That's true.
Huh?
I watched the Deceivers video today, and turns out they had the same idea as us like a week earlier.
Oh.
They copied us.
Actually?
They copied us a week before us.
Yeah, they looked in the future and copied us. They got one of them,
Obviously.
Obviously.
Okay, so there's one question that remains, though, is like, what's actually going to go on the arm to interact with the game pieces? So let's get into that with our first design that we're going to go in depth in, which we are calling right now the Slurper.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the Slurper design was, we had 2, like, hinged arms with a little, I don't remember the size gear, but 2 gears on them, and the axle was being driven, so if you turned one way, the other arm would go the other, so kind of like a closing V, and then on the ends of them, we had 3-inch, 3-inch compliant wheels, and we went through a couple iterations. The first way we did it was with a stiff design, where it just wouldn't move. It wasn't on wasn't on a hinge at the bottom. But then eventually we realized that you can get better grip if you put like a spring or something in between the 2 arms. So it'd be gripping it with not only the compliant wheels, but also with the arms being pushed into the coral. As for the ball, the algae, I mean, it could kind of pull it out, but not really do anything with it. It was mainly focused on being able to pick up the coral.
Okay, so what are we thinking so far with this design?
I mean,
it has great merit.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we're kind of going through a mix. Because, like, we have the 2 versions. I think we've decided that neither of them are going to work, and it'd be better to have a fixed design, but have a fixed design with 2 sets of rollers at different lengths, so it could be able to pick up both the algae and also internally the coral.
Okay, so getting into the other design prototype that we're working on right now. What we now know as the PQ.
Oh, Alan, isn't this one yours?
This is mine. Yeah. So it's a mechanism that does both coral and algae, but the pictures in the most recent post we've done aren't finished ones. We haven't actually finished the prototype because there's going to be polybelt ran from the algae side to the coral side, acting as a funnel for coral. So all the teams that made the funnels from the player station to get the coral, we're doing that, but making the funnel be able to grab algae, just as like a bonus. It holds both algae and coral very well and very tightly. It actually even grabbed the reef at one point, and we couldn't get it off, which that was funny. And it can put on coral and algae or coral on all levels, pretty much, especially if you put it on a wrist. And then,
so would you want to put it on a wrist in the final design?
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that'll be easier to place the coral.
We made it more rigid by removing all P and Q aspects of it and just making it two flat pieces of polycarb with the spacing, and then throwing rollers. We actually put 3D printed rollers meant for polybelt that will crown the polybelt so it doesn't slip off once we put that on there, to make it one, more grippy, and two, funnel the coral in. We're currently driving it with one vortex and 4 gears to change the direction. On the back, and the polybelt's actually going to run the front. The front two are just going to be dead axles ran from the back ones with the polybelt. On the final design, we're definitely not going to use steel. We were talking about using aluminum lightweight gears for the changing at the front. The mechanism is about 10 pounds, which is a pretty big moment of force on the end of an arm, especially since the arm itself is going to be very tall. But it's all going to be packaged very well within the perimeter of the bot, so it should not be too tippy. So the face side, the algae side, where we'd pick up from the player station, has the width of about 3 slides, 3 of the coral slides. So we'd be able to pick up from 3 different places. Me and one of our mentors were talking about a potential design, very potential, very unlikely to happen, where you have instead of aligning with the poles of the reef, you align with the center of the reef, and when you grab it from the player station, you have 2 lights, one on the left side, one on the right side, to flash which side you put it down, and that would direct it to a different shooter. So you would just line up with the center of the coral station and place like that, instead of having this line up with the center of the pole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm good. I don't want to talk about it.
Or do I gotta whip out the MS Paint?
No, we don't need to hear.
Wait, I found out I can make a duck noise on Discord.
You could do it after
But I really want to click it. I won't.
Okay.
But I really want to click
Okay.
it.
But basically, yeah, that was one thing we discussed about the design. We'd either have it funneled to the center, or we'd have it funneled to one of the edges, or to both edges. Which the centering to both edges would be much more complicated of a design, because you have to remember the ball got to go there. So that's why it's very unlikely to happen, but it's still a thought that has been thrown around.
Now for our next segment here on the podcast, we take you deep within the lair of the machine shop to a group of mysterious individuals who worship a deity known as Dr. Sandtrock, our lead mentor number 1. They call themselves the Shop Rats, and for the last year and a half, they have worked tirelessly to execute his fabrication goals. And luckily we have one of them joining us today. Gus, please tell us more. What does it mean to be a shop rat? And how did this mysterious society form to begin with?
So, the rats started the beginning of last season. It was me and 2 other members, 3 members, and we were in the shop getting interviewed for before season because we were learning how to use the mill. Actually, Jack, you came in and said, "What do we have here?" and asked us what we were doing, and I said, we're working in the shop. I'm a rat. I'm a shop rat." It just offhandedly, and it kind of just stuck, saying that we're the rats, and it sprung into a whole identity where there's this 14-year-old YouTube video made in like Windows Movie Maker called The Rat Movie. It's probably like 7 years old, but it's still. And we quote it all the time. It's just this random, I think Germa made it. I don't know. Random video about the rats. Rats, we are the rats. We stalk at night, we pray at night, we are the rats. And then it became, I found this design of a rat on Thingiverse, and I was like, that's really funny. So I printed out like 30 of them on my home printer, and I handed them out to the team, and they said, and then like I had like 10 extra, so I brought them to our regional, or our qualifier, and kept handing them out.
District event.
District event, yeah. So I was handing them out at districts, and I was like, and it just kind of stuck. So eventually I got another member who has like 8 printers. He has a whole print farm in his basement to help us, and at states, I think I handed out like 50 to 100, but by worlds I locked in, and I got 100 rats made on my one Ender 3 printer, so much so where it broke my printer. It took me a few months to get my printer fixed because I just had made too many rats, it broke. And then I distributed them all out throughout Houston, and I think we ran out by like day 2, the 400 rats we made, 100 by me and 300 by this other member. And so like if you have a little gray 3D printed rat, that's for me. That's the story behind them. But yeah, so that's where the rat portion comes from. But there's a lot more to it, where like the rat hierarchy and the worship of the truck, it gets deep. Do you want me to go through all that, Jack?
It's a pretty involved cult. Now you can take us through as much as you want.
I just like to say, I love how you at Worlds I locked in and gave out more rats.
I gave him more rats, man. I mean, I'm literally, as I'm recording this, I have like a 8-inch metallic rat on my shelf in a cardboard car. I have rats everywhere in my house. I did a wax cast of a rat and made it a Christmas ornament. I got so many. So the like hierarchy in the rat movie, they have something, the biggest rat, and the biggest rat makes all of the rules. So we just kind of have this like hive mind work ethic where whoever gets there first is the biggest rat, and if they leave, whoever got there second is the biggest rat, and the biggest rat makes all the rules. So they talk and like decide on, I'm gonna use this mill and I'm gonna be making this piece. You could you make this please? You do this. And then because we're like a hive mind, if someone needs to bow out, like I had to leave early during the weeks of finals because I had to study. So we had another one of our mentors, or not one of our mentors, another one of our rats just jump in and continue working, same machine, same everything. continue making the parts for our mentors. For our mentor. Yeah, or just like for the team, really. Yeah, and then also our main head mentor is Dr. Santrock, and I don't know where this bit started, but his son had a hoodie. Actually, yeah, that's where it started. His son had a hoodie that said Sand Truck, because it sounds like Sand Truck, son of Dump Truck, and his dad is our head mentor, our like main leader, so we kind of just started calling him the big truck, our dump truck, and he's just our leader. Yeah, he is the one who gives us all of our instructions. He taught us, and then he'll just give us a sheet of paper that's printed off a CAD design and say, go make it. And that's what we do. We go make them. And that's what the rats are.
Yeah, so you'll never see them in any of the videos, but they're hard at work always making our robots come to life.
It's not true. I feel like they appear a decent amount. It's just...
I haven't been in a single picture this year, and I think I was in like 2 last year. I'm pretty well hidden. But if you see me at a competition, I always have my Gearheads hat on, and you'll know it's me because it's a mess. It's got like a ton of pins on it, several of just my dog. There's one of Skull Kid from Majora's Mask. There's one with a hippo with wings. A lot of random stuff, a ton of keychains on it. But at the very top of my hat, I have a rat. His name is Timothy, and he is VHB'd to a Gearheads pin that lives on top.
I completely thought you said you'll know it's me because it's hot.
Yeah, that's actually how you know it's me. I also had an Among Us pin on my hat from Worlds, but I unfortunately lost it at kickoff.
Lost my Einstein pin at Worlds.
Oh, yeah.
You lost it at Worlds?
Very sad.
That's very sad.
Now, if anybody wants any of those 3D printed rats, where can they find them this season?
That's a good question. I think I'm going to use my master negotiator skills of asking nicely and saying please to get our mentor Nick. He has, or not him, but he runs 2 printers in the shop, and I'm going to ask him if he could start printing them so we can have an official source, so it's not coming out of my bedroom, making it so I can't sleep at night. But I will also be getting another one of our teammates and seeing if he can get some. But if we are able to, I think we'll have a small bin with our pins, but also I usually have a bag of them on me. So if you ask, I'll just give you one. So I typically have a few on me.
All right, very nice. That was the story of the rats. Delightfully unhinged. Now, moving back to our general discussion of robot happenings and where the team is headed, is there anything else we want to talk about tonight?
Do we want to talk about the Nick theory?
No.
Yes, introduce this.
What is the Nick theory?
So Nick was talking about the other day that, for us at least, skipping L2 altogether
what is L2?
Best practice.
Level 2. It's the second.
Level 2 of the reef. So you know there's L1,
Yeah,
L2,
yeah.
L3, L4. We'd
Level one,
only
you
be
could
getting
say.
L1, L3, and L4. L2, it would take us longer than L3 and is worth less points, right? So L2 is the best, is just a skippy skip.
Yeah, 'cause we
What
only...
was your guys' opinion on Nick's theory?
I guess, but honestly, I do think we should be mainly... Well, no, I disagree completely. Because
Why?
to get cooperation, we need to score on all 4 levels. So if we're not completely ignoring one... Yeah, not
No.
cooperation,
No.
sorry.
To get the
For an
rank
additional
point.
rank
If you get
point.
co-op, then you don't have to do that.
What?
What?
If you get the co-op,
Co-op,
point,
you don't have to do that.
No,
Just
co-op
using
makes
co-op
it so you have to score less on the levels. It
No,
doesn't
it means you only
completely
have to score on
eradicate it.
3 of the 4 levels. You only have to do 3 of the levels with
Yeah, the
competition.
co-op point means you only have to score 5 on 3 different levels, which can be any 3 levels.
Oh. I guess, but still, I do think if their opponent refuses to do co-op, it would still be smart to be able to do L2.
I mean,
it might be slower.
Technically, we can score in the opponent's co-op.
Well, it's not saying don't do L2 ever. He's saying skip L2 unless necessary.
I could see it. I feel like that's putting the carriage before the horse, where we still need to get an end effector and an arm done and dusted before we can do a let's score on this level at this time during and shoot this and do this and this. I feel like that is more importanter.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's still food for thought.
All right, so we've had a few team updates published since we last spoke. Not very action-packed. The definition for bumper material was changed from fabric to cloth. Now we're still trying to figure out what exactly that means.
Riveting. That's riveting.
Dude, that's fascinating.
I know, it's crazy.
That's so crazy.
And also, first is sort of acknowledging the issue with algae and saying that it is not
What's the issue with
guaranteed
algae?
that you will have a table. The issue with algae is the 2 different types of algae out there with the 2 different patterns on them.
Yeah.
But in addition to that...
do you want me to talk
What was
about
that?
my idea for dislodging algae?
You know,
What is your
I think
idea?
So, I had the thought of, like, kind of doing uppercut motion to just knock it off entirely and ignore scoring with it. I think we've gone past that, but I called it the Bionicle Mask theory, because in the original Bionicle series, the sets would be able to articulate in that motion and would knock each other's masks off. And it would be a similar thing where we go under and up the ball to knock it back and just completely ignore it wherever it goes after.
We did test something like that with the Slurper design, and it is able to descore the algae like that.
Real quick,
Oh, it
I
is?
just have a funny thing to add about the fabric in a cloth situation. The definitions on Bing for fabric is cloth or other material produced by weaving or knitting, and then the definition for cloth is woven or felted fabric.
Dude, that's gonna change
They
everything.
have the other word in both. Doesn't first define cloth at some point in the manual or something like that?
Probably.
They probably do.
I think it's like defined somewhere else, and so that helps.
Yeah.
We could also just be overthinking about a simple word change.
I feel like that's probably the thing. There's like, I don't think it matters, to be honest. It's gonna be the same
I don't think any
thing.
team's gonna be in the gutter this season because of fabric being changed to cloth.
Anyway, first, cannot guarantee that there will be tables in everyone's pits. So sad, the most riveting of information. I still blame Dean at kickoff 2023. I think that's the reason why. Kept hitting all those tables, and now it's an
He
issue.
broke them all. He broke all the
Wait,
tables by
so
hitting
sad.
them too hard.
I'm still devastated. Will.i.am got pushed to the curb.
Oh my gosh,
Will.i.am?
Will.i.am replaced by Mark Rober? That's so sad.
Who's Will.i.am?
You see, that's probably why.
Dude,
He's definitely-
if it's engineering channels, I watch Michael Reeves and William Osman. If William Osman
he's not
came,
an engineer. He's not an engineering channel. I'm pretty sure. I haven't
Oh.
watched him in a while, but I don't.
I mean, but like if they got like William Osman at Worlds, and I would be so happy, dude. I'd be waiting hours in line to see him. Love that guy. Anything else, Jack?
Okay, so general happenings in the shop, robot progress, anything else we wanted to get to but haven't so far?
Do we want to talk about the frame today? Do we want to talk about the frame?
Sure, why
today?
not? Let's get into it.
Is that a
Wait.
Gus thing?
Yeah, it can be a Gus thing.
Be a Gus thing? Alright.
Yeah.
So, for the, like, drive chassis, over the summer, the Rats and I, we made a very janky prototype one that we're not going to be using, but like it lets us, so we can take, if we have this end effect thing, we can just slap it on it and see how it runs and test things out. But we realized that the material we're using, which is this like O-shaped thin steel, is not as effective as a thicker C-shaped aluminum. We tested this by like pressing them with an arbor press and seeing which reached a state of I think plastic state is the right word, where it would bend and not go back to the original state. And we found out
it's plastic versus elastic deformation.
Okay, I thought it was called plastic deformation, but like
yes. Yes.
It would, by the time the O-shaped thin steel reached plastic deformation, there was little noticeable change in the C-shaped aluminum, and to the point where it wouldn't make sense to test any further, because that proved that the aluminum is just the smarter play. It's lighter, and I think it's lighter at least, but it's more resistant.
Sure it is.
Yeah,
we
it's
actually
lighter.
Maxed out the weight.
I was gonna say, I think
we did?
we were like, yeah.
We maxed out the weight. It actually did deform quite a bit, but never reached plastic deformation. It only reached elastic deformation. It's actually on our frame, the one we tested.
Oh, really?
It bent to.
We changed out the frame?
No. It's on the frame.
Oh. Yeah, I got
We're
you.
using the one we tested on our frame.
I got you.
It never reached its yield point. The steel reached its yield point and buckled like crazy.
Gavin, do you have any like control stuff that you want to talk about or no?
Yeah, did you guys fix swerve code yet?
The swerve code is in a state that is technically operational.
What do you mean
And that is
technically?
all.
Gavin, what do you mean technically?
Like, it works, but there's just, like, no features. There's no sim. There's no, like... there's no uh-oh features.
What's sim?
Simulation.
Oh, I got you.
Wait,
I
are
mean-
the cameras still on Rinsler's corpse?
Yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember if one of them came off when we took off the arm.
We're
So,
still doing...
Riddensler is officially dead. Right? Because, like, I saw its mangled body
Correct.
in the shop, but it looked pretty intact. So, is it gone? We're not putting it back together?
Well, we just ripped off the head. Nice and clean, like, right?
Yeah, it's
Gotcha,
basically
gotcha.
Hung that on the wall.
it's
Ripped out of its mouth.
okay.
Like a trophy
Gus.
that hunters take?
Okay, so elsewhere in the first community, anything interesting from other teams that you want to talk about that might not be applicable to what we're working on, but definitely deserves a shout out, or
Oh,
you might want to redirect some eyes.
I got one. I found out other teams are making pink robots, and I think that's awesome, and we should make a fun-colored robot.
Oh, wait. Speaking of which, do we want
Oh,
to talk
we've
about
got
the
a
new
new team up
carpet?
What, Eli?
Ooh, carpet.
Wait,
yeah,
when?
let's talk about carpet.
So we're
Oh,
getting an
carpet. The
extent.
garish carpet.
So we're gonna have a full half field. Or, not a full field. We're gonna have a half field. Except
Can it be
we're getting
purple?
donated the other half of the carpet, and it's this Christmas pattern that looks kind of flamboyant.
Do you just
It's
hate
like
Christmas and
flamboyant.
happiness?
Because it was the closest one to the actual carpet, but
Huh.
yeah,
It's more
Neat.
Germany
It was-
than Christmas.
It was called
it's a flamboyant.
Contains fruit.
Wait,
Buddy,
let me
I don't
let me
think it
look
was
up.
called
What
that.
should I look up? What keywords do I gotta hit?
I would go to what's the carpet store on? What carpet store did Mr. Grace just walk into and ask if they had any carpet they wanted to get rid of? Isn't that what he did?
Wait, that's what he did?
He
Fire,
did something
dude.
like
No,
that.
he brought in the sample and asked about it.
Oh. Neat. Because, like, when we first got the carpet, it was the summer before I was a freshman, and Mr. Santrock taught me how to use an industrial floor cleaner, and it was really fun, and I want to do that again. It was so cool.
You gotta use the Zamboni.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a
Zamboni.
Zamboni. Uzam Bozo,
Wait 1
but
second.
it
I
was
put my
like
cat out.
close. It was cool.
So
Anything
Team
else?
Update 5 came out while we were recording, and
Oh,
it really doesn't look like there's that much going on. Just a few little notes here and there.
What?
What's Team
You can
Update?
supercharge by bringing the algae back?
What? That's crazy. I must have missed that. That's incredible.
I didn't read it.
I wasn't expecting
Oh.
to see that until Worlds.
Wait,
See
what?
Supercharged?
Anyway, so unless anybody has something else to add, I think we've covered all that we will on today's episode of the Sprocketnoggins podcast. It's been great talking to all of you. Thanks for being here as we work on this Open Alliance thread. And we hope we're able to share all of our insight with all of you on a weekly basis. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of this Reefscape season. Goodbye.